Good morning. We'll call the February 16th, 2016 Pennington County Commission meeting to order. We'll stand for a moment of silent reflection. Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Ron Buskerud.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is to review and approve the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they wish to make to the agenda? If not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. We'll have a roll call vote.
Buskerud.
Aye.
Farabee.
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye.
Troutman.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item is the presentation of new employees, and Sheriff Tome will preside.
Good morning, Kevin Tome, Pennington County Sheriff. We have a number of new employees here this morning, and it looks like a lot because it is a lot, but we do our hirings quarterly. And what that does for us is makes it more efficient in our training and our orientation. We do a larger group instead of doing a group every week. So that's what we kind of stockpile them and bring them to you quarterly. But we'll have them come up and introduce themselves, tell you what division they're working in, and I think where they're from, and told them to each keep their speeches to about 30 minutes apiece. So, anyway, CJ, I don't know, where do you want to start? All right.
Good morning. My name is Tammy Rosser. I'm from the Rapid City area, and I'll be working in corrections in the adult division.
Morning, my name is James Gentili. I'm from the Rapid City area, and I'll be working jail maintenance.
Good morning, my name is Brian Bergner. I'm from Hemet, California. I'll be working corrections adult division.
Good morning. My name is Melanie Strong. I'm originally from Wisconsin, and I'll be working in human resources.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Fritzy. I'm from here in Rapid City, and I'll be working at JSC Correctional Officer.
Morning, my name is Casey Ballard. I'm from Torrington, Wyoming, and I'll be Adult Correctional Officer.
Good morning, my name is Christine Hine. I am the booking tech.
Morning, my name is Nicole Nelson. I'm from Madison, South Dakota originally, moved here from Sioux Falls, and I'll be the control room operator at JSC.
Good morning, I'm Rod Nason from Rapid. I'm at the shop, mechanic shop.
I'm Keith Wetzel, originally from West Union Springs, South Dakota. I'm working at the mechanic shop.
Okay.
Good morning, my name is Mary Lee. I grew up in Phillips, South Dakota. I live in Rapid, and I'm a booking tech.
Good morning, my name is Nicole Williams, and I'll be a detox tech.
Morning, my name is Yvonne Paniska, and I'll be a registered nurse in the jail.
Okay. I saw you yesterday, Yvonne. Not because of nursing.
Good morning, I'm Harley Hansen. I'm from Hill City. I'll be a correctional officer for JSC.
Good morning, my name is John Dunlop. I live in Rapid City. I was hired on as one of your deputies.
Good morning. My name is Robert Kelsey. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I'll be in adult corrections.
Good morning, my name is Jody Tubles, and I'll be working adult corrections.
Good morning, my name is Bill Davis. I'm from San Diego, California, and I will be the crime intelligence analyst for the sheriff's investigations.
Good morning, my name is Matt Pond. I'm from Rapid, and I'll be adult corrections.
Morning, my name is John Campbell from Seattle, Washington. I'm a deputy with Pennington County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, my name is Jared Murphy. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I'll be a deputy with the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. William Prentice from Rapid, and I'll be in adult corrections.
Good morning, Skylar Burke. I'll be working adult corrections, and I'm from Rapid City, South Dakota.
Welcome to all of you, and enjoy your employment here. Thank you, Sheriff. Next item is the consent agenda.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Holly Hendes. I'm the Commission Office Manager. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 2nd, 2016, approval of vouchers in the amount of $1,950,385.09. Number 8 is the approval of the permit to occupy the right-of-way and the request for road closure / traffic control for the Deborah Mickelson Trail Marathon is submitted by Ms. Emily Wheeler. Number 9 is to acknowledge the disinterment permit number 1076271. Number 10 is to approve the request to apply for a Department of Justice Community Court grant as submitted by Health and Human Services. Number 11 is to acknowledge the order of organization and incorporation for the National Guard Road District, effective for the tax year 2016 and after, as submitted by the Auditor's Office. And number 12 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of January 2016, as submitted by Human Resources.
Does anyone wish any of the items on the consent agenda removed?
Number 7, Mr. Chair.
Number 7. Any others? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar except for number 7.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 7. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Barabee?
Aye.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.
Mr. Chair, I ask for that to be removed so we can vote on it separately. I don't agree with the process we put in place last meeting, so at least we can vote separately on the item. As I said before, our tasking by state law is to superintend the fiscal concerns of the county, and I don't believe that we're doing that properly. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So am I understanding correctly that because there is concern about the complete list of vouchers, that if we follow the procedure we voted in by majority last meeting, this means that we will move this forward to the next meeting, not pay the county bills, and you will present to us what your concerns are with this list? Is that my understanding of what's happening right now? Mr. Chair, I would hope that Mr. Farabee could give me an answer, because it's unfortunate if we are not going to pay our bills.
KJ Peterson, Chief Deputy Auditor. What I was going to say was I would certainly hope that we're not going to pull the entire group of vouchers that was presented to the board. We do this at the second meeting of every month, and of course then we mail those out on Thursday, and many of them have the regular monthly bills and have deadlines. We don't pay late payments when they're assessed, but of course, if we don't pay our bills for a month, we're going to have quite a mess there, just because they bill them and they come back. So, of course, if there was one specific one or questionable one to pull, then sometimes it does go to the next meeting. But I hope that the decision by the board at 2 weeks ago, if I'm understanding you right, Commissioner Troutman, is that you're afraid that this would be continuing, that we would always be pushing our vouchers back a month. That would be pretty tough.
Mr. Chair, could I please have an answer from Commissioner Farabee? Is this his intent?
Mr. Chair, if I might, I'll repeat. I pulled this item so they could vote on it separately. End of story. We're going to vote on it separately.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what is it on this list of vouchers that you have a concern about, Mr. Farabee?
Did I in any way indicate that I had a problem with this listing? I have a problem with the procedure that we adopted last meeting. So from here on out, we're going to vote on the vouchers as an independent item. So let's have the vote.
So, Mr. Chair, perhaps we need to refine the process that we adopted and mention in the process that if we are not going to have a specific reason for pulling those vouchers, that perhaps we should just have it remain on the consent calendar. Because if we go forward with this kind of process that Commissioner Farabee is wanting to do, which is to pull those vouchers every single time, we are running a risk of making some big mistakes here.
Okay, let's, I think we've covered this. Obviously, the procedure that we adopted was adopted by the majority. And so at this point, I would like a motion relative to the vouchers, and we'll proceed.
I'll move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor, vote, answer the roll.
Buskerud.
Aye.
Farabee.
No.
Hadcock.
Aye.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, motion carried 4-1. Okay, next item is item 13A.
And, Mr. Chair, if I might, before we proceed, I want the record to show that I object to this method of conducting our meetings.
I think that's understood, yes. KJ?
Good morning again. Item 13A is a resolution that would designate 2 drainage lots that were previously taken by tax deed. They're both located within the city limits, as the resolution states, and that we as the county may convey and transfer any real property to another government by resolution, and we therefore are recommending Rapid City Common Council accept the transfer of this property. There are 2 small corrections in the ID number of these 2 resolutions, ID 61720 and ID 62605. So we would ask that the board approve this resolution conveying those two pieces of property as surplus and conveying and transferring to the city of Rapid City. And the chair affix the signature to the quitclaim deed.
That'd be my motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, the roll call.
Buskerud.
Aye.
Farabee.
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, motion carried. Next item.
Next item is tax deed property number 13770, which is the Wicksville Dam. The board may remember that we own this dam and the approximately 40 acres. The board declared it surplus for sale at auction. We then became aware that State Game Fish and Parks has a lease for 50 years that doesn't expire until May of 2021. I believe Julie spoke with Mike Kenty from Game Fish and Parks. It's their desire to continue that lease and consider purchasing it in the future. So the motion we are requesting is to remove parcel 13770, which includes the legal description, from the public surplus list, to uphold the management agreement with South Dakota Game Fish and Parks, and to express the county's desire to have South Dakota Game Fish and Parks acquire the property for the continual benefit of the public.
That'd be my motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chair, if I might, when did the county commission put this on the surplus list?
It looks like the board declared this surplus to sell at the next tax deed sale on December 15th of 2015.
That must have been on the consent calendar. I don't recall that.
I would have to look at the minutes to know as well. I just reading from Julie's notes, but
All right, thank you. And Mr. Chair, philosophically, I'm opposed to the government getting any more property, and even though it's now government property, here's a chance where we can reverse the trend and possibly put this property back in the hands of a private individual, put it back in the tax roll. So I'll be voting no.
Any further comments? We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Buskerud.
Aye.
Farabee.
No.
Adcock.
Aye.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. Motion carried 4-1. Item C.
Item C is tax deed property 58801. That is parcel that Fountain Springs had requested to purchase, and they are now subsequently withdrawing their request to purchase this property. They did not fully understand the sealed bid process, and the board may recall the next step was to have a 3-person board complete the work to proceed with the publishing. There's not much reason to go to that work at this point, so we're recommending you acknowledge the withdrawal of the request to sell parcel 58801 and cancel the selling through the sealed bid process scheduled for March 15th.
I might point out that I did appoint 3 people, and the day that I was about to organize them to make a viewing of that property, I got notice that the bid had been withdrawn, so I had to fire all 3 of them. Do we have a motion?
I would move to acknowledge the withdrawal of the request to sell parcel 58801 and therefore cancel the selling of the parcel through a sealed bid process scheduled for March 15th, 2016.
Second.
Motion,
Mr. Chair, do we need to rescind our previous motion?
Excuse me?
Before we do this, we made a motion to do it by you appointing three appraisers, right? Does that motion have to be rescinded before we can do this?
Just withdraw.
my opinion would be that this would override that, but Jay, do you have any comment?
Okay, so then we keep moving things along. How about you rescind it and
And then
do that.
adopt the new motion?
Mr. Chair, I would withdraw my motion.
Second?
Yep.
Is withdrawn. Okay, so we'll ask for the rescission motion. Anyone care to make that motion?
That'd be my motion, to rescind our last meeting's motion, to find the three people, and I don't remember the motion, but
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to rescind the action in December. Was that when we did that?
I think that was the
I
previous parcel.
can't find it, Karen, in the minutes from last meeting. We must have done it before.
that was last meeting.
I'm gonna have it here.
Just a question while we're looking. Isn't this their driveway?
Yeah.
Part of it, yes.
And they don't need that to get into
Was it
their
the February 2nd
building?
I think I understand why they withdrew.
Why'd they withdraw?
Well, the three people would have set a minimum price, and they may get it cheaper.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I don't think you have to have the date as long as you acknowledge that you're rescinding the
Okay, I
previous
think the
one.
intent is well understood, and so with the motion and second, we'll have a roll call vote.
Yeah, I'll find the motion. Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Aye.
Hadcock,
Aye.
Troutman,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes, motion carried.
to rescind.
Next motion.
So now you need the motion.
Now you need the motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move to acknowledge the withdrawal of the request to sell parcel 58801 and therefore cancel the selling of that parcel through the sealed bid process scheduled for March 15th, 2016.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Aye.
Hadcock,
Aye.
Troutman,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, motion carried. Now, Jay, one more. Is this property on the surplus list now or not, after we rescinded the other motion?
Not if it was.
It's not.
Not if it was declared surplus in that motion. I'll find the motion.
Correct. If that motion had a surplusing, then yeah, you've stripped the surplus from the record, so you'd have to resurplus it.
So do we need to make a third motion, and if so,
To surplus it.
Yes. Yes.
For tax deed, our office brings an entire list of all the properties that will be sold on tax deed and asks for them to be surplus, so
So it'll be done later anyway.
it'll be done later.
Okay.
okay. All right, moving on to item D.
This is a transfer of alcoholic beverage license. It would be a transfer from Black Hills RV Parts and Repairs to the Pahasapa Market. This would be for retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine. It's been presented to both the sheriff and planning and zoning. And I don't believe we received any comments back from them.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
Hadcock,
Aye.
Troutman,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Next item, thank you, KJ. Next item is the item 14A.
Good morning again, Kevin Tone, Pennington County Sheriff, and I have with me Mike Maltivern, the Rapid City Fire Chief. We're representing the ESCC Users Board, which is the dispatch center, and Chief Carl Jagris is the chair of our user board. He's out of town, so Mike and I are representing the user board. Mike's also the chair of our user board for emergency management. So in terms of an update, the user board did select an individual to fill that role that was vacated, and it's Kevin Carley. He's a Highway Patrol employee, and he will be moving into that role the end of February. So I didn't have a name when I initially put it on the agenda, and we since voted on a name and selected an individual. And Mike's going to talk a little bit about the process and how we arrived at this using somebody off one of our agencies, since it's what we did on the EM board.
This is a former process, or a similar process from what we did with emergency management approximately 3 to 4 years ago when we had a vacancy for our director over emergency management. We conducted a nationwide search, and after several attempts to try to get someone to come in and fill that role, we ended up looking internally with 3 large agencies, or I guess 4 large agencies. We did an internal search and found it best served for that position to fill that position with a fire department employee, and that has proven over the last 3 years to be very successful for us. I know we've done many updates in front of you and dealt with many challenges for our city and county in terms of disasters and all that, and again have a very good track record over the last 3 to 4 years with Dustin Willett, who is a fire department employee. He is fully dedicated and detailed to the position of emergency management, so it's really a seamless process that we have. However, behind the scenes, he is coming from within, from one of our agencies, and we would like to do a similar process with the 911 Center, or Emergency Services Communication Center, with Captain Carley will be a former employee of the Highway Patrol. He's been serving really all of West River as their district commander, and there's a very good rapport, a very good working relationship with him already with those of us that serve at the head of our agencies, and so we'd like to do a similar process and feel very confident with what we've done with emergency management to move in this direction. So.
And just for the board's information, this is an information item only in terms of previously through the user board agreement, the county commission and the state and the city council have given that authority to hire and fire the director of the ESCC. So it's an information item, doesn't require a motion. And I think we have one executive session item related to this regarding salary. So with that, we'll certainly stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is item 15A.
Morning, Commissioners. Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. This item is a carryover from last meeting. It's a request for the county to approve the purchase of 2 additional properties on the south side of the NAU building. The contracts are in your packet. I'd definitely be glad to answer any questions you might have. I think we have some representatives in the audience from the building committee, also from Buildings and Grounds, and the auditor, if there's any questions in that regard. I do want to say a couple things real quick. Both of the sellers in this particular case, the Penningtons and Mr. Keene on behalf of the Bridger property, signed the agreements yesterday. So the sellers have signed the agreement. And secondly, I want to say something about Mr. Keene. Well, first of all of the owners that we've dealt with have been phenomenal people to work with. It's just been a real pleasure to get to meet them, and it goes beyond just buying and selling a property. You get to hear some life stories and some history of Rapid City. It's pretty interesting. But I wanted to say something about Mr. Keene as well. By trade, he's a realtor. He's in that business, and he took it upon himself to assist all of the property owners, not just his particular property, with listing the properties to try to find somebody who would be willing to either buy them, move them. He used all of his resources from the listing services and Craigslist and any number of other things that he, being in the business, uniquely has access to, charged not a penny for any of it. Not to the county, not to any of the property owners. He did that entirely on his own, just trying to assist and help. So I wanted you to be aware of that. It's pretty nice to have that service, because that would be one of the things the county would have to be looking at doing ourselves, which would certainly cost time and money. He's done it for free, so I really appreciate that. So in the packet, in the memo you have, there are 2 motions. And I guess if there are no other questions, I would like those motions to be taken up individually, one at a time.
We can do the first one? Okay. So my motion would be to move to approve the real estate purchase agreement between Pennington County and Richard and Levon Pendleton in the amount of $140,000 for the property having tax ID 34978 and legally described as Lot 21 and 22 in Block 107 of original town site of Rapid City, Pennington County, South Dakota, and authorize the commission chair to sign said agreement and the county auditor to issue a check for the purchase price plus the county's obligation for any additional fees, costs associated with closing, and to further authorize the chairman and auditor to sign any and all additional documents necessary to carry out the purpose and intent of the agreement. That'd be my motion. Short and sweet.
Long motion.
Whoa.
Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I think we're paying too much for this property, and the assessed value is a bit less than what's being presented to us. And there's additional cost to, as I understand it, we don't want the building, we want the space, the footprint. So that's going to be an additional cost. So the $140,000 for that property it's going to cost us more before all is said and done. So I'll be voting no.
Any further comments? If not, roll call.
Buskerud?
No.
Farabee?
No.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes. Motion carried 3-2. Next item.
If I could
Second motion.
entertain a second lengthy motion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the real estate purchase agreement between Pennington County and Bridger Properties LLC in the amount of $200,000 for the property having tax ID 39267 and legally described as Lot 17 and 18 in the west half of Lot 19 in Block 107 of the original town site of Rapid City, Pennington County, South Dakota, and to authorize the commission chairman to sign said agreement and the county auditor to issue a check for the purchase price, plus the county's obligation for any additional fees, costs associated with closing, and to further authorize the chairman and auditor to sign any and all additional documents necessary to carry out the purpose and intent of the agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Mr. Chair, the same comments from the previous motion, and I forgot. I'd sure like to see a square foot comparison, and we have 2 reasonably favorable comparisons right across the road over here. I'd like to know how many bucks per square foot that costs to get that down to usable bare ground. As a comparison with these, even though it's a little different in size, give us a ballpark comparison. And then here not too long ago, we sold the city about an acre and a half up on Adams Street, the old work release facility. And I'd sure like to see what that cost them per square foot versus what it's costing us. I think we're being ripped off. Thank you.
Any additional comments?
I have one. I'd like to thank Mr. Keene, citizen, for helping us on the cost savings on this property and the time he spent doing what he did. I thought that was pretty awesome for him to list, and things that would cost Pennington County money, he actually did that for us. So I'd like to thank him publicly as well. And Jay Alderman and Mike for, I believe they get the best savings and the best costs out of these properties. So I appreciate that. Being on the building committee, I think that makes a difference to know all the information sometimes on these properties, and they bring that forward, I think, in full disclosure. So the other thing was the property over at the old work release, that building was junk. Okay, I'll just say it up straight. So that's why that building wasn't worth anything, so it was about the land. So thank you.
Mike?
George asked some questions about property square foot costs relative to, in a comparison to what we sold the Adams Street facility and then what we are buying these for. I personally think that these are difficult comparisons to make relative to this, but the price per square foot for the Adams Street facility ended up being about nearly $3 a square foot. The value of the property based on the prices that we're talking about today for the houses are between $20 and $23 a square foot.
And any idea what, and the Imperial over here was maybe a junk building, but
I wasn't able
but
to
it's
find.
gone.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find any, find out what the cost of that was before this meeting, but I am aware that the price I think she was seeking initially was in the between $3 and $4 million. I assume that the final selling price was significantly lower than that, and but I don't know what that number is.
Once again, Mr. Chair, it'd be nice to know the square foot comparison and that, and thank you for the research on the Adams Street. The city got a bargain and we're paying a premium. Thank you.
Any other comments on the motion? Roll call.
Buskerud?
No.
Farabee?
No.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes. Motion carried 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item 16A.
Good morning, Commissioner. Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. You have a couple of abatement requests before you. I have an introduction for all three of them. Every year at the first part of the year, my office brings to you a bunch of abatements that are more formality than they are abatement request. During the year, the previous year, we collect these and wait until the tax bill is presented or printed and then present them to the commission for an abatement. By far, most of them are government purchases. Federal government acquires property, state acquires property, cities acquire property, county acquires property, whatever. Most of them are that. And when the government acquires property that is taxable, it becomes exempt from taxes during the month that they buy it. But the process to make that property exempt that we use in Pennington County is an abatement. That gives the auditor's office a formal paper trail that her auditors can look at and see, so that no change was made behind the scenes. That's what these are. They're a little bit different than the normal, but these are those. Normally, we have them in January, but this year we had a bunch of them. I think I've got around 110 of them. The federal government, the state, were pretty active in some projects, and Ellsworth Development Authority the same way. We got a bunch of them. They will come to you over the next several meetings, because the way the abatement process works, if one of these properties is located in Box Elder, it goes to the city of Box Elder before it comes to the county commission. So we've got Box Elder, we've got City of Rapid City, we've got Scenic Township, and several other townships. So when we get those back, or the auditor's office gets those back, they'll come to you. For example, Don Kelly, this piece here just happens to be outside any civil jurisdiction, so it's one of the first ones. But that's what these are. They were not presented to you on an abatement application. I normally do that, but I normally have like 8 to 10 of these, and then it's easy to fill out an application. There's nothing that requires an abatement application, and it is not a property owner making an abatement request to the commission. I presented a list on a spreadsheet to the auditor, and she's working on these. I think next meeting I'll have a memo, next several meetings I'll have a memo that'll identify these for you. On the chance that we get a ordinary abatement request, that we can identify that one from all of these others. But that's what these are here. I will tell you what specifically what they are. Laurent, Diane Laurent. This is a property that was annexed into the city of Box Elder. The city has a annexation resolution that they act upon that identifies the property by legal description. We get a copy of that, and then in our office we change the taxing district on that. We put it in the city. And we did that. This property just happened to have a couple of mobile homes that are on separate tax records that's set on the property. And that's difficult to know when we get that legal description for just the land. So we changed the taxing district for the land, but not the mobile homes. It's important to this lady because this is one of the few examples of where being in town is less taxes than where she was out of town. So we need to change the tax district on the mobile homes. That's the abatement request we've got there for Laurent. The other two, Kennedy is an elderly assessment freeze. This property owner applied for an elderly assessment freeze, met the deadline for the application, but there was an appeal on the decision of the treasurer's office, and that appeal lasted longer than the Board of Equalization. When we get those situations, we try to act on them at the County Board of Equalization, and we always do a couple every year. This one just was scheduled beyond the County Board deadline. The County Board adjourned. So we saved it until now, and it's one of these. The property owner qualifies for the elderly assessment freeze. The abatement will make that happen. And then Don Kelly, this is a situation where he either bought or traded some land with the federal government, and I think it's a trade, and then we'll actually be adding some land to the tax roll in a separate process. But this is for his property that the federal government acquired. Make it exempt from taxes. These are all really formalities, but it gives the auditor the formal paper trail that she needs.
I'll make a motion to approve the abatement of Diane Laurent, Teresa Kennedy, and Donald Kelly. Sorry. Teresa Kennedy and Donald Kelly. For some reason, I can't say that name.
Do you need separate motions for each?
I don't know why we would. They're presented separate because I think the auditor's office got them ready on different days. That's the only reason.
So you're okay?
So your motion covers both?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Is there a second? We do have a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a discussion on the elderly assessment freeze. I'd like to thank Annette and Janet from the Treasurer's Office. they have been helping me with some of the people in our community that needed help with the criteria and information on this. And boy, they just stepped right up and got it done. So thank you to the Treasurer's Office and Janet and Net for putting in their time, and it was pretty awesome. So, and it also is a great learning process to know for me, in case I do have questions, and they answered all my questions, so I could refer that, and then gave me the papers to hand out to people if they wanted to know about it. So thank you again to the Treasurer's Office.
Any further comments on the motion?
No, Mr. Chair, interesting to note that it's cheaper to live in, or taxes are less in town than they are out in the country, and I guess that's what you did say, right?
In that taxing district, yes.
And I presume our county treasurer would like to comment about being overruled by the folks in Pierre.
Good morning, Janet Saylor, Pennington County Treasurer. The reason that this was denied was because all the paperwork was not submitted by the deadline. That's why we sent her a denial letter, and she has the right to appeal it to an OHE hearing, which she did. And it was pulled after she provided the information that she hadn't given to our office. So it really wasn't a fight between us and the OHE examiner. It was the fact that she didn't give us what we needed to approve her for the freeze.
In a timely fashion.
In a timely fashion.
Which meant that she should be delayed a year. And shouldn't be abated, should be delayed a year if she missed the deadline.
But we can't overrule an OHE hearing. That's final. OHA says that once she provided the necessary document, that we had to give it to her.
Mr. Chair, I find it kind of interesting that the abatement amount is almost $1,000. Is there that much difference between elderly freeze assessment and normal assessment? That's rather a huge difference.
It rolls it back to the year that somebody became disabled or 65 years of age, so.
It depends on how old that person is. If you're 66, it puts your assessment back when you turn 65. Not much of an advantage there, and if your assessment didn't change much. If you're 95, it puts it back 30 years ago, and then there's an advantage.
So this wasn't a one-year rollback, this was a many-year rollback.
Puts your assessment back to, as Janet said, when you turned 65 or became disabled, whatever your property was assessed at in that year.
This one in particularly rolls it back to the assessment year of 2000.
So what the property was worth 15 years ago.
Okay. Wow. We do have a motion and a second. Any discussion further on the motion itself?
And one more comment, we're basically just a rubber stamp.
Pardon me?
We're basically just rubber stamping this action. We have no discretion, we're just rubber stamping.
You can certainly take whatever action you want, but especially for the example of the property the federal government purchased, the law says it's exempt for taxes.
But once again, we're rubber stamp.
And Jay's not here right now, but I don't think we have a choice. I mean, the judge has ruled that we have to give it to her, but that decision is up to the commissioners.
I understand, we're rubber stamp. Thank you.
Okay, we've got that settled now. We got the rubber stamp deal covered. So we'll have a roll call vote.
Buskerud.
Aye.
Farabee.
Yes.
Adcock.
Aye.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next item is item C.
It was requested that I bring a video to the commission that we have on our website. Our office, the Office of the Director of Equalization, has purchased a video that explains what the county assessor does. And we have it on the front page of our page of the county's website. It's a good video. I like it. It was done very well. It was created by a consultant who consults with counties, and he created the video and then is selling it. So you might see this in some other county. I know at least one other county in South Dakota has purchased it, and then their name is on it, and even out of state. But it is really good. How do I make it go?
You're not, we will.
Okay,
That's why she shut the computer.
so I don't touch it.
They know your
There's a lot of
limitations.
misunderstanding about the role of assessors and how they affect the property tax that
Turn it
homeowners
up
pay.
just a little.
When someone hears the term assessor, they seem to think of a scary figure reaching for their wallet. Not so. Assessors don't set tax rates. Assessors don't chase tax dollars. An assessor is interested in fairly determining property values, and they take great pride in it. Property tax is determined by a simple formula. Assessors only affect one of these variables, the value. And they do so with incredible accuracy. Assessors aren't tax collectors or even tax setters. They're just fellow taxpayers, and their primary goal is to make everything fair and equitable. Imagine that you're in a restaurant with two friends. One orders a hot dog, one orders a plate of caviar, and you order a steak. The waiter comes to the table with a total bill of $100, but he doesn't know how much each of you should pay. If everyone paid the same amount, the guy who ordered the caviar might be happy. But what about the guy who ordered the hot dog? Enter assessors. The food is your property. Just like these meals, some people's property is worth more than others. And it's the assessor's job to determine how much each property is worth. That's it. So in the same way the value of these menu items would need to be determined, an assessor places value on properties to ensure fairness and equity. After the assessor determines the value of each property, local governing bodies will set their budgets for the coming year. They set the tax rate in order to produce the dollars needed for their budgets. The value of a property does not affect the amount of property tax needed. The sum total of all those budgets is a set number that has to be divided up among all the property owners. So even if everyone's value was cut in half by the assessors, the tax rate will be raised in order to generate the same amount of tax revenue. The assessors don't determine the taxes you pay. They just determine the values of properties to keep everything as fair and equitable as possible. When you notice a change in your property's assessed value, that change is the result of a never-ending quest for fairness and accuracy. Assessors are graded on their performance, so there is a detailed system to get accurate valuations. First, the assessor looks at similar properties that have sold, their sale prices, and the terms and conditions of each sale. That's the reason your home won't just be compared to the place next door. Studying things like square footage, age, and location helps assessors determine how comparable another property is to yours. Even seemingly small details, like an extra bathroom or finished basement, can result in significant differences in value in two otherwise identical homes. Assessors maintain a thorough database of real estate information to make this process as precise as possible. Changes in value are typically the result of local real estate market sales or major changes to a property. Remodel a kitchen or finish your basement, and your property's value could increase. When you see your home's assessed value, you can rest assured that the number has not been drawn out of a hat, nor generated with anything but equity and accuracy in mind. Long story short, assessors are here to help, not trying to hinder. Their focus is accurate values, not tax collection. The only things an assessor chases are fairness and equity, and they take great pride in it.
There were some very good things said in that. I'm happy with that video. We'll leave it up until it's not needed anymore. I can see we keep it there for a long time. Our website has an explanation on a lot of stuff that I have written. The video does a much better job of presenting it. I'm pretty happy with it. And we've already got maybe near 60 hits as of last week that are watching it. It's on our website if you want to go look at it again. It'll be up there for a long time. I should say a compliment to our IT department, specifically Lori. We purchased this video. It comes to us in an email, some kind of an email file, and then it's her job to put it on the website. I thought that'd be fairly easy. I get told that it's not. It was difficult. There are easy ways to do it that would not have been as good as what it is now. She figured it out, and it's up there, and we're pretty happy about it.
Thanks.
Very good.
Just a question. You changed also the process on how you do the assessment notices. Can you tell us those changes?
The biggest change we have to our assessment notice is that we have another company, outside company, that prints and mails those for us, because postal regulations have changed so much, we don't want to deal with that. When we first started that, we gave them an assessment notice and they printed it. If we wanted to make a change, it cost us money. Lori has worked, from IT, Lori has worked with them, and we now have a section of it that we can change at will without cost. Major savings to us. That it didn't really change the look of it, but now we have the ability to tweak some wording as laws change. There are a lot of the, especially on the back of the assessment notice, a lot of the wording there that's required by state law. We have tweaked the format a little bit better to make it more obvious, in particular owner-occupied. We can't make it a blinking yellow light, but we can at least make it bigger and easier to read and put it in a better spot. We are putting on the assessment notice a statement that if you want to receive your assessment notice and tax bill by email, provide us an email address. Last year we got a bunch of people that gave us email addresses and didn't want it sent by email. I don't know why they did that. We tried to make it a little bit more clear that if you do give us your email, we're going to use it. So little things like that hopefully make it a little bit better, easier to read, easier to understand.
Thank you, Shannon. This commission asked us to do some changes, and I believe you did that, and with the IT department have done that. And I think that's pretty awesome that we're at least trying to reach out to the public and do some changes like this commission wanted and the public wanted us to do.
Yeah.
If anybody ever has ideas, I mean, we're always into ideas, this commission is, but I think you've made a positive step forward, and with the IT department, made that step become possible and easier for the public, because so far I've had people like the video, and it just gives a kind of general, and if they have more questions, they can call you. So thank you for doing that, Shannon.
Thank you.
Any other comments for Shannon? Thank you. Next item is item 17A.
Green.
Good morning, Commissioners. Looks like I got a pile of things here. First item is our Pennington County.
You are?
Oh, sorry, Tom Wilsey, Highway Department.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Let me get organized here. We have delivered copies of our annual report to the County Commissioner's Office. This report fully identifies our expenditures within the county. Several of you, a couple of you have been around for a few years, you know what it looks like.
I read it all this weekend.
Oh,
Just kidding.
Look, did you get a good nap out of it?
I'm kidding. It's good reference. How about that?
We have also posted this online under the Highway Department. There is no action needed. This is just for information for the public and for the commission. Any questions about this?
I'm curious about the way you allocate administrative expense to projects. Is there a formula or?
Yes,
something?
administrative is spread throughout the whole county on all of our roads into construction and maintenance. We try to balance out the cost of the administration throughout the whole county for all of our. County has a way, they have to charge our expenses to roads, bridges, and buildings. And that's all we can charge our expenses out to. So that's how these are charged out. The administration is overall the whole thing.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Tom on the annual report? If not, we'll go on to.
Next item. Item B, acquisition of land for H-plot along Clarkson Road. Highway Department is attempting to clean up an access issue that occurred during the abandoning of right-of-way along Spring Canyon Trail. We are wishing to purchase a small piece of land to allow access to the public right-of-way by the person affected. The purchase will be at a price that the landowner, Mr. Kurtz, paid for the land. We will do the platting, the Highway Department, and that will remain property of the county. I had on here the areas that after platting it and running all the numbers, we were off by a little tiny bit. Let me dig here.
Is this Mr. Anderson's?
This is Mr. Anderson's,
Thank
yes.
you.
Sorry. We came up with 1,976 square feet that we're going to be buying. And I rounded down and Mr. Kurtz rounded up, so 55 cents would be the agreed price per square foot for a total of $1,086.80. I'm requesting a motion to authorize the Highway Department to purchase the platted piece of land.
That'd be my motion.
Second.
Discussion on the motion.
I'd like to thank Mr. Farabee and Mr. Anderson and Mr. Kurtz for coming into agreement with our highway department, because this was something that we needed to make right. So me and George and Tom, I brought Tom out there, thank you, Tom, and met with me and George and the landowner, and I appreciate the solution that came forward.
Any other comments?
No, Mr. Chair, I guess I don't see our state's attorney here. Still in the back of my mind is the issue of the mayor of Rapid City in 2007 vacated or abandoned a county road. And I guess I don't know how that can happen legally.
The reason they did the abandonment is we took the road to them. And they have the platting authority, and basically the abandonment is a platting item. And it's within the 3-mile limit. That's why they did the paperwork.
But shouldn't the signature, and see our deputy state attorney showed up. I'm uncomfortable with the mayor of a city abandoning or vacating county road. Do you have anything to offer in that regard?
Let's go.
I just know that this matter has been addressed before, and it's my understanding that the direction was for the highway superintendent to go and seek to do exactly this, and that's what he's presented, so.
That's not the issue. The issue is, can a city mayor or city council or city whatever vacate or abandon county property? That's the issue. This is not about Spring Canyon Trail. This is about the issue of, and I guess going forward.
My response would be they probably can. I have not researched the issue recently. If that was part of those earlier discussions, we wouldn't have got here if we didn't think they could.
Well,
So my response is they probably can, but I haven't researched that.
Mr. Chair, I think they vacated it, George, from being in the city, they vacated on the permission of the county because they made a different road. So they vacated, which usually property at that point goes, it was a section line, 33 feet on each side went to each landowner. Unfortunately, in this case, when we did that, we put, whatever you call it, opening to the guy's property on the other guy's, Mr. Kurt's property. Anderson's was put on Kurt's when we vacated it, and we should have, there was a promise made, and Pennington County honored that promise to Mr. Anderson.
My recollection, and this has been a long time ago that we originally addressed this, there were a number of issues
Yes.
involved in this one little strip of property. And the agreement or the decision was to resolve it in exactly the manner that Mr. Wilsey is in front of you today trying to do.
And Mr. Anderson's in
Okay, I
agreement.
think we've covered the details relative to the motion at hand and the issue at hand. And if there's questions further, I would suggest we pursue them at a different point in time and maybe as an agenda item. So I'm going to call for the vote.
Well, before we do, Mr. Chair, I'd like to suggest that we put this particular item on the monthly mayor county commission meeting schedule.
We can do that. And we'll call for the vote now.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Aye.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yep.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried.
And Mr. Wilsey, you've already contacted Mr. Anderson, sir?
I have not yet. We just finished the negotiation with Mr. Kurtz just yesterday.
Thank you.
In fact, my surveyor is going out to talk with him as we're sitting here,
Thank you.
so.
Item C.
Item C, 2016 seasonal load limits. This is just for informational purposes. I am authorized to do seasonal load limits and set them. We are going to do it this Friday. I'm using every venue I can to get the word out. So that's all this is about, just letting you know that it will happen this Friday.
Item D.
Item D. I won't read that whole number. It's the county striping program. Every year we paint the roads in the county. Total cost for painting all of our roads is around $328,000 plus change. The state commits some monies according to a formula that they use, and their commitment towards it is $199.62. So the balance of it, $256,000, is county highways.
So I'll move approval.
Second?
Motion is a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, roll call.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried. Item E.
Item E, authorization to purchase corrugated metal pipe. As we have done for the last couple of years, at least last year, I am wishing to buy corrugated metal pipe off of the Beetle County bid. We usually get the same price they do and only have one bidder for several years, so this just is making it much cleaner and easier.
Move approval?
Second?
Motion is a second. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried. Item F.
Next is authorization to purchase maintenance items off of state bid. There are several items that the county purchases off of state bid. Items include gasoline, diesel, tires and tubes, and several miscellaneous signing items, such as Telspar posts, portable signs and bases, sign facing, traffic control wands, and drums. Some of these are over $25,000, some of these items are not, but we buy them off state bid because that's where we get the best price. I am requesting a motion to authorize us to buy those items.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is a second. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Buskerud?
Yeah, aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Next item is item 18A.
Commissioners, I just placed this item on the agenda to let you know that we did receive an appeal on the Kroll construction permit 15-17 and would like direction from the board as to when you would like to hear that appeal as setting a special meeting or adding it to a regular agenda.
So Ms. Holly, we met and talked with commissioners about when would be the best time, and I think you've heard from them as well. I believe the recommendation is March 2nd at 4 o'clock, a Wednesday.
Okay, I just
That'd
need
be
a
my motion.
motion of the board.
Second.
Motion and second. On the memo, it says 9 o'clock, so you're saying 4?
Yes, sir.
4 PM?
I think it works better for the public as well, to be able to come if they're getting off work, and the time seems to work appropriately. So, was there any motions to be made at that, or that's just a public meeting, we take it to March 15th for?
No, that's the appeal hearing. You can take action at that time.
So can we just make it an appeal and the motion could be carried just to listen to both sides as a hearing and not as to take action on it, or we have to make that motion there?
I'd say
Legally.
that's a decision of the board. It will be a publicly noticed appeal hearing, so
Right.
whether you choose to get it all done in one shot, that's, I believe, a decision of the board that the board can make.
I
I
remember
think for
being,
efficiency, would make sense to get it all done in one shot.
Ms. Holly, when we did Walmart meetings, we didn't take motion, or we didn't take action on those. We just wanted it as a public hearing, meaning so we could see both sides, and then we kind of fathomed it or kind of listened to both sides, and then we had time to think about it instead of having to make that motion right there and then. But I didn't know if legally we had to make that motion that night.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment on what Deb's saying. Whatever we call it, I know that I have several questions, and I want to hear what everybody says, and then I want to pursue the answers to those questions. Perhaps they'll be answered that night, but I would say that the depth of what I want may not be addressed at that time. And so I would like to, I mean, you know, we could just continue that decision, couldn't we, if we set it as a hearing, but if we decided that we needed further information, and we could continue it until we got that information. Correct? Okay.
Correct. Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. There's nothing that I'm aware of in the ordinance or statute that requires you to set it for a hearing on a day and make a decision on that day. Certainly, as the reviewing body, if you need more time to make your decision, you certainly can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Karen?
the motion,
Sir? Ms. Karen
I
has
have a question. Then if it's a hearing, do you want someone there for minutes or not?
Legally, that would be the question.
Since it's essentially an appeal or a hearing, I think we should take every reasonable precaution to
Yes,
make
that's
sure that it's recorded. We have minutes. If there's documents that are brought forward for a review, we probably ought to identify them because obviously there can be an appeal from your decision potentially to circuit court. And I know from past experience, circuit court always wants to know that the tribunal below did all they could to run the show in an orderly fashion and mark exhibits and make clear there's a good record to go up on appeal.
And we'll make sure you're helping us. Just kidding. Thanks, Jay.
okay, we have a motion and a second. And it strikes me that we perhaps need, at some point, discussion on how we're going to structure the meeting and run the whole thing. And since it's in your district, Commissioner Farabee, I would recommend that you involve yourself in that process quite heavily. Any further comments about whether or not to pass the motion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Chair, now the motion is just to set the date and the time for the.
That's correct.
And the particulars bring in later.
Yes.
As to.
Structure.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
Hadcock,
Aye.
Troutman,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. Motion carried.
Chairman Peterson, do you want an agenda item on the next meeting for the particulars on the setup and the function of the meeting?
I think that would be helpful, yes.
I think be helpful for the public as well, so they kind of want to know the structure as well. And Carl.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Next item is item 19A.
You're up, PJ.
Before 10:30, which is really nice. PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department. What you have before you in your packets is basically an accumulation of about 13 months of work, 7 committee members, 2 technical advisors, and 1 alternate. Held 10 meetings over 13 months for a total of just over 25 hours of meetings. They made over 170 motions, but still came to a 5-to-1 vote when all was said and done. Essentially what they did when looking through section 319 was add a definition of transfer, which you'll also notice does not have the word sale in it anymore. That was a recommendation of the board to take that out, and a recommendation from the state's attorney's office. The biggest changes that you will see is that they want to put it into, again, a 5-to-1 vote. The committee would like to put it into suburban residential with a conditional use permit. And the requirements on the current owner and the new owner, when it would be transferred, that there'll be letters sent out to the homeowners within 500 feet of the property lines, stating who the new owner is and who also the new local contact is. A review of the new owner by the Planning Commission and a review of that conditional use permit would not occur until 1 year after the new owner took possession and operated the vacation home. There's a couple typos in there. We'll get those fixed before they go on, but we're not looking for any motions on their recommendations in the ordinance today, but the committee did ask the office to ask the Board of Commissioners to make 2 motions because they'd like to advertise the changes have been made in addition to the regular hearing advertising that will occur before it goes to Planning Commission and ultimately up to the Board of Commissioners as an ordinance amendment. And it's going to take extra money out of our budget, so they are asking the Board of Commissioners to make that motion. The other motion is that they'd like the planning staff and the committee members to work together to hold a public meeting to discuss the changes prior to an actual ordinance amendment being filed.
So those are the 2 motions you want, is to advertise extra, besides the regular advertising, and the planning staff and planning and the staff from this have a public meeting.
Yes, I think.
That'd be my motion. Or do I have to make it separately?
Commissioner Troutman.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I do have, can we discuss some questions on this before we make those motions, or when will we get to discuss? I have just.
If you have questions,
Go ahead, Nancy.
Charlie's
I'll
here
defer
and
my
Joyce is
motion
here.
for now.
So we have 2
Go ahead.
representatives from the committee here as well to answer any specific questions.
On page 5, under D, it says an owner may retain. And then on page 6, I think it is, anyway, there's 2 references, and in one it shall retain a contact person, and in D it says may retain. And I was concerned that there could become a back and forth of whether it was may or shall.
Okay.
And so I kind of thought maybe under D it should say, in the absence of the owner, an owner shall retain a local contact. Here comes Charlie.
Yep. And I see what you're saying,
You
in
got
like in section four, F4, it says the owner, local contact shall educate. And, okay, all right.
Charlie Johnson. I was chairman of the committee. We attempted to change most of them to shall,
I noticed.
and that's one of them we missed.
Okay, good.
Very astute. And then just to go on his advertising, we purposely kept them as separate motions because we weren't sure you wouldn't turn us down on the one. Because we are asking for advertising that hits a group that doesn't read the legal classifieds.
Sure.
And this being a major ordinance and a very controversial one at the time it was established, and it's still pretty 50-50. We thought the public ought to know that a new document sitting here, that you're going to review it after proper handling, and the best way to do that was one ad, just one ad that says, hey, you can come pick up your copies of this, and the Planning Commission is going to go, nothing more than that. Go through it, and you'll have the normal legal process after that.
Charlie, I'd like to thank you and your committee and the planning staff for 13 months of hard work of getting this done, because I was in some of those meetings, and boy, there was some good discussion, which debate is always good on my side and your side kind of thing, but it took a lot of time out of people's lives to do this, and 13 months on one subject. So thank you to your staff, PJ, and people on this committee. There was some really good debate from both sides, which I appreciated.
Thank you for that, and I was going to introduce their names when we review it at planning, so that make sure it's part of the record. But we also thank you. You folks went through and selected the people. They did their job. I think they did a nice job. In fact, I think you could use this as a model for citizen committees in the future looking at ordinances.
Thank you, sir.
Are you kind of volunteering to continue as chairman?
I think he
We'll
heads
see.
our citizen
I'm getting a
committees.
little old, they can beat me up pretty good sometimes.
Okay. Karen, I think it might be helpful to you if the motions were made separately.
Yes.
And someone offered the wording so that we get it right.
Thank you.
So what's the first motion?
The first motion is planning staff work with the committee members to host at least one public meeting relative to the recommended changes to section 103, 208, and 319 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance.
Be my motion.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried. Second motion.
That the planning department advertise at least one time the changes recommended to sections 103, 208, and 319 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance prior to required advertisements associated with ordinance amendment hearings.
That would be my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
Do you have any idea how much the advertising costs?
The extra, I think Jerry was saying.
Just in general, and then the extra?
It depends on how long it is, but like for a rezone, it can cost up to $140.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Would, for Jay, anytime in the process of formally adopting the ordinance, it can be amended when?
I just want to make sure I understand.
Okay. You've got the motion in front of you for deliberation to adopt this. And Nancy says, I want all the shells to, or maize to be shell, and you find two or three. that should be changed. You can amend it.
Absolutely, because the purpose of the law is setting a minimum, hearing or hearings, depending on the type of ordinance. That's just a minimum. You could have 12 hearings if you wanted, and amend the ordinance as it goes along until you finally decide to either not have an ordinance at all or to finally approve it. So all along the way, you can make changes that you feel is necessary.
Thank you. Okay. Items from commission members. Does anyone have any items they wish to bring forward at this time? If not, Holly, we'll move on to 21. Legislative session.
The current bill list was provided in your packets, as well as individual reports that show which bills our office is tracking, and where they're at moving through the process. I send that out regularly to the commissioners and the department heads. We've had several added to the list that department heads are tracking. At this time, the board can certainly discuss any legislation that's going on. Feedback for Nancy as the liaison, or take any position on any bills that the commission feels strongly one way or the other about.
Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of questions. There's some road district, there's a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate, and I'm curious, it's kind of confusing as to what they're really trying to accomplish. And I was wondering if there had been input from our auditor. I know that she's been working on the Senate side, but I'm not clear what's happening between the two.
I know she went up last week to testify, and I believe it was on one of these bills. I can certainly try and get a hold of her or email and get some more information for you on those. I haven't read them. I don't know.
Yeah, over the weekend, I talked to a senator about that, and I felt like it was a little confusing what we were trying to do between the two, and if they really thought they might come together and accomplish something. So, and Mr. Chair, the other one I'd like to bring forward is Bill SB 3. For several years, Pennington County has been attempting to work with the state legislature on updating SDCL 10-31-3, and unfortunately have not had a great deal of success. We have worked very hard. We have developed a very well-written bill, but I don't know. It's been a confusion in Pierre as to what's really happening with that. So SB 3 was a proposed bill that came out of the Ag Taxation and Review Committee. This is a permanent committee that was established when we went to a different way to assess agricultural property. SB 3 is attempting to kind of do what we were trying to do. And this was something that we had no idea was in the works. We went to that meeting in December of that committee. We had been given what they were going to discuss in the committee, and when we got there, we found out that that was not what they were going to discuss, and they had a whole different bill, which we had never seen. So we've been trying to understand how this will affect our county, but also other counties. One of the things that's really different is that in the existing bill, there is a term called contiguous properties, and or actually it's contiguous owners. And they did pick up in this new proposal our our idea of a management unit and did put that in there and get rid of contiguous. So that's a plus for what we wanted to do. We felt that there should be a criteria that every ag property satisfied, and that was that it did produce an agricultural product, whatever that might be. And so we felt that there should be that everybody's satisfied in order to get assessed as an ag property. And then there would be two criteria, one to do with acreage amounts and the other to do with income and the source of that income. They have structured this new bill so that still there are three criteria. What they changed was how you qualify income-wise. So you would have to satisfy 2 of 3 criteria. And the income criteria is going to be a challenge. Because what it says is that 3 of 5 years, you must make 10% of the assessed value of that piece of property in agricultural gross income. And it needs to be $2,500. I've been talking to some of these smaller ag properties. We're going to struggle out here to make that happen because our property is not as fertile and as good in production as it is on the eastern part of the state.
Ms. Nancy, do they have any criteria in the farm subsidy program that we can look at that might have something?
Originally,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, originally our proposal was to follow the USDA income, which was $1,000 for small properties.
Right.
And they will not do that.
So they don't have a criteria for farm subsidies, meaning what size or,
Well,
like how much
that's what
land
the
they're
1,000
using?
was.
Right.
That's what the $1,000 was, and it's been that way for over 100 years on the national level with the Department of Ag. So our state does not want to do that, so they have substituted this in. And I'm very concerned about that. I've been talking to people, it has gone through the Senate. It is unfortunate because there is a great confusion about what this is really doing. Other senators stood up and said, well, you don't really understand what you're doing. I'm not sure we're ready to vote on this yet. However, it did get off the Senate floor, and we are waiting now to see when it goes through the House committee and the House floor.
But they don't have any, like, why I'm saying that, sorry to interrupt you. Why I'm saying that is they don't have any criteria of how much you have to make or why you're getting it?
That's the $1,000.
Really?
Yep. That
So
is
just so
the
you make
federal
$1,000?
requirement, yeah.
And you can get subsidies for,
No. And it is considered, what we used is that the income requirement for it to be considered ag is $1,000 from ag. Am I saying that right, Linda? On that, yeah. Yeah, so that $1,000 has to be satisfied before a subsidy is even considered. The 1,000 is the base.
so, and then you guys tried to do that through?
The
okay.
state.
So you did try to follow what, okay.
So my great concern here is, in addition to the fact that it's going to be difficult for these small landowners, what's also going to happen is that, and I've talked to equalization, we are going to now have to maintain 5 years of financial records from these small landowners and determine if 3 of those 5 years qualify them. And then each year, they're going to have to bring in that information. And we'd be lax on it, Shannon said, you know, if they brought me in receipts that they sold so many cows and that satisfied it, he said, I'm fine with that. But we are going to have to do that. So we're going to start out, and this next year, if this goes through, we're going to be asking every single small ag property if they actually have 5 years' worth of financial records. They're going to have to bring them in. We're going to have to copy them. We're going to have to keep them on file. And then next year, they'll have to bring in another one. We'll drop off that first 5 years, and we will move forward. It's going to be quite a bookkeeping sort of situation. The other thing, they messed a little bit with the acreage, and we've talked to the sponsors of the bill, and the main sponsor from the Senate comes from Brookings County, where their minimum acreage requirement is 20 acres. I'm sorry, I almost said dollars, 20 acres. And the equalization director there said, oh, that's not a problem, what you're talking about, as long as you remain 20 acres. So really, this bill is based on 20 acres. But there's a confusion now about how they've worded. County commissioners can change that. Technically, we can go up to the 160, which has started this whole ball several years ago. But it's a little confusing about that. And I'm very concerned about this, obviously. And I wonder if we as a commission want to really do something about this. Do we just let it go? I think, at the very least, we should get some examples from our own tax records and explain what this is, how we are going to have to maintain this, how difficult it's going to be for those smaller properties to qualify, and at least send that to the House committee. And so I'm just looking for what you all think. I've worked on this for a long time, and it's very unfortunate. When I talked to the senators that I knew last week about this, when it was on Senate floor, it is being sold as Pennington County's bill, and we had nothing to do with it. It is being sold as helping small ag property. This will fix it, and it's just going to make it more difficult. And many of you know Brenda Whiting, and she's worked side by side with us on this. And like she said, they would rather, her group would rather just leave it as it is than change it to this new process.
And maybe they're changing it because of the people that aren't ag, and they don't understand what they're doing on the other side. Does that make sense? They're trying to eliminate people that aren't really ag by the smaller properties. And so that's what and I don't know if that's a positive or negative, but if it's impacting smaller ag people that actually are needing this.
That's the problem.
That's the issue.
Yeah, because it will eliminate some. But the concern is that it will also make it very difficult for those who actually should get it to get it. And the other issue, and I haven't even gotten that far enough into this to understand, but to me, it's going to definitely cause a problem for timber. We've talked to the tree farmers. They're very concerned about this. And the gentleman I usually work with on the forestry was out of town last week, so I couldn't really connect with him. But it's kind of throwing the timber and tree industry under the bus. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think I keep working on this, or do you want to just let this happen, or do you think we should, I mean, it's up to you guys.
Okay, egg boys.
Egg boys.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, George, you've
It's
been.
affecting, I mean, I'd like to listen to your thoughts just because it's affecting a lot of your areas. Plus, you guys are kind of egg guys.
Having thoughts about an issue like this and convincing the legislature are two different things. And you get the influence of the State Revenue Department, the mix of the demographics of the legislature itself. And I think somehow we need to step back from it and get down to some basic principles. And one of them that comes to mind is that if you have to prove every year the use of your property and its qualification, essentially you're assessing that land every year and setting a value that is not happening to all other properties. So there, things like that maybe you can pick out, and that you go piece by piece and classify a piece of property so that the assessor can consistently approach it with that classification until it is changed either by zoning or otherwise. But you mix in the fear of shifting property taxes from ag to city or city to ag, and you go back to the study that was commissioned by Pennington County and Custer County a number of years ago, and when it turned out that the results showed that city property was getting more services than they were paying for, and that industrial and ag properties were actually getting fewer or less value in the way of services, that study all of a sudden disappeared. And it wasn't resurrected again until this ag discussion came about. So there's all kinds of dynamics involved, and how you get through the jungle of human beings is a good question.
You're up, George.
But I would say just stick with it, no matter what. And
there's a problem, obviously, it needs to be fixed, and this is not the fix. And I don't know what the fix is, but this is just nibbling at the edges of a problem. And it created by Pennington County 3-4 years ago. And to me, bottom line, you have to take the discretion away from counties to set the acreage. That'd be the starting point.
And that's an interesting point, if I may respond to that. Essentially, that is what would have to happen, and they have kind of convoluted that whole way that they tried to say counties still have that ability, but yet they kind of set up everything else so that you have to stay at 20 acres. And that's, I mean, I just think that's ridiculous to write a bill like that. Just come right out and say it. Just, if you want every county to have 20 acres, then just do it.
Yes, you just
Yeah.
pick a number. They're just passing the buck.
Yep, and they're going to leave us in that situation where we have things like lawsuits, and we're OHE all the time, and we're always struggling, trying to figure out what they really said in that confusing portion of the law that talks about acreage, and
And the fairness of it all.
The legislature needs to pick a number for all of us, period. And
Yeah, I
that'd be
think
the
you're
starting, that'd be the starting point.
yeah. Well, since most counties are at 20, that'd probably be it. But it sounds, I guess I'm taking this, that I should just keep working at this and do what we can do to get the true information to them. You know, the nice thing about it is that they've been very cordial to listen to us this time around. But, you know,
I noticed the Senate vote is 18-17. You expect the House to be the same, or?
I think the House is, I think we have a chance to change how that goes. I think if we can give them true information of how it's going to affect the landowner in the county, it's going to make a difference. So,
Good information.
okay, I'll go forward then.
Thank you, Nancy.
Anything else on legislation? If not, committee reports. If we don't have any committee reports, items from the public. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the commission? If not, we do have executive session material. Do we have a motion?
Move to go into executive session, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to go into executive session. Roll call.
Buskerud?
Can we discuss it first?
Discuss.
Discuss. What do you want to discuss?
Well, it looks to me like at least one of them is about reclassification wages, and I'm not sure if that is appropriate to go into executive session. We can go in there to discuss whether this person should get a raise or not, but not how much it's going to be. I have trouble separating those two things.
Figure out the difference. Jay, you know a difference?
I guess I'll vote in favor of going to executive session, but I think it's a close call.
Okay, are we voting now?
Should the Commissioner Buskerud, are you concerned about the specifics of the wage itself? And do you think that should be public discussion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. The one from, from IT is not about the person, it's about the position and how much that person should be paid. And if we want to talk about the qualifications for that person, fine. If we want to talk about how much money and where it should be placed on the scale, I mean, we're not talking about the person, and then we're talking about the position, and obviously that's not executive session material. So I guess if you want to talk about, if the intent was to talk about that person's qualifications and why that person should go up in scale or not, then fine. That's my concern.
Usually do.
We don't want to make it any more difficult than it is, but.
Anything further?
Nick, did you hear any of that discussion?
A little bit.
Oh.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session and a second. Roll call.
Buskerud?
Yes.
Farabee?
Yes.
Adcock?
Aye.
Troutman?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes. Motion carried.
I move we come out of executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn executive session. Roll call.
Buskerud? Farabee?
Aye.
Adcock? Troutman?
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. Motion carried.
Good morning, Nick Strood, HR Director for Pennington County. The motion that I'm requesting today is that we make an exception to our wage policy for employee Steve Charnas as an IT Senior Applications Analyst to be moved to grade 21, step 3.
My motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. Roll call.
Buschrood. Farabee.
Yes.
Adcock.
Yes.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. Motion carried. Any other motions?
I move we adjourn.
That's it? Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call.
Buschrood. Farabee.
Yes.
Adcock.
Yes.
Troutman.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes. Motion carried.